What if the reason you haven't achieved what you want is not because you're not good enough, but because you're aiming without direction? Too many men spend their lives chasing things they don't understand. Success, respect, freedom. But when they get there, they still feel empty. Why? Because most desires are born from pressure, not clarity, from comparison, not purpose. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. They knew that desire without direction is like wind without a sail. It moves, but nowhere meaningful. This video isn't about wishful thinking or temporary motivation. It's a roadmap rooted in Stoic philosophy, driven by daily Stoic discipline, and focused on becoming the magnet for what you desire. If you've ever felt stuck, distracted, or like life is passing while you're still waiting, you're not alone. Many of us have confused movement with progress. But today, that ends. You'll learn 9 powerful Stoic secrets that don't just inspire, they challenge. They rewire how you think, how you act, and most importantly, how you live. From turning pain into power to reclaiming your inner peace, this is the shift you've been looking for. So pause the noise, step into your strength. And if this message already speaks to something inside you, like this video, subscribe to the channel and stay with me until the very last moment. Because this could be the turning point your future self will thank you for. 1. Desire with direction, not with anxiety. Wanting more isn't the problem. Not knowing what you truly want is. Most people walk through life pulled by noise, social expectations, trends, fear of missing out. They chase success because they were told it's the measure. They want recognition because they never felt seen. They run after wealth, hoping it will quiet the voice that says you're not enough. And when they finally get there, the position, the applause, the things, they're still restless. Restless because they climbed a ladder that leaned on the wrong wall. Desire, when unclear, becomes a trap. It doesn't pull you forward. It keeps you spinning. That's why anxiety thrives. Not because you want too much, but because your wants aren't yours. They've been adopted, borrowed, and shaped by comparison. You're working hard, burning out, but deep down, you don't even know if the thing you're chasing actually matters to you. A man walks into his garage after work, exhausted. He's built a decent life, house, car, family. But as he sits in silence, he feels a quiet ache. It's not depression, it's not failure, it's misalignment. He's done everything right by the book, but no one told him that chasing the wrong thing, even with discipline, leads to quiet emptiness. He wanted freedom. What he built was a cage, and it started the moment he never questioned the origin of his desires. The Stoics saw this clearly. Epictetus taught that we must examine every desire and ask, does this bring me closer to the man I'm meant to be, or drag me further from myself? It's not about having fewer goals. It's about choosing the right ones. When you desire with clarity, you don't rush, you don't compare, you move with stillness and strength. You become laser-focused, not on having more, but on becoming more. But modern culture doesn't reward inner clarity. It rewards outer noise. The man who moves in silence is often overlooked. Until one day he becomes unstoppable. Not because he wanted it all, but because he wanted the right thing and let go of the rest. The common mistake isn't wanting too much. It's wanting without pause, without asking what truly matters, without facing the uncomfortable truth that you've been running from yourself behind the mask of ambition. The man who never reflects ends up working hard for a life that doesn't feed him. And by the time he realizes it, he's deep in the forest and no longer knows why he entered in the first place. To desire like a Stoic is to stop chasing and start choosing. It's to let go of the performance and return to purpose. It's to ask yourself, if I strip away validation, status, fear, what is left that still calls me forward? That question alone, answered honestly, can save decades. You don't need to renounce goals, you need to refine them. You don't need more desire, you need fewer distractions, because clarity is power. And the man who knows what he's truly here to do, that man is unshakable. Sit in silence for 5 minutes, no screen, no music. Just breathe and ask yourself one thing. What do I desire, and is it mine? The answer may not come today, but if you return to that space daily, it will rise from within, not from the world. And once you know it, protect it like your life depends on it, because in a way, it does. 2. Act today like you already are who you want to be. Waiting weakens you. It convinces you that you're not ready, that you're missing something, that one day, someday, right version of you will finally show up and do what needs to be done. That lie has stolen years from good men, because the truth is this: you don't become the man you want to be by waiting. You become him by acting as if you already are. Many people live in a loop, postponing discipline, courage, and presence because they believe it belongs to another season of life. They think confidence comes after success, that purpose comes after achievement. But confidence is built when you act without it. Purpose arrives when you stop looking for it and start living with intention now. No one hands you a certificate saying you're ready. Life waits for no one. It only responds to movement. In a quiet suburb, a man walks into his home after another long day. His job pays well but drains him. His family loves him, but he hasn't been truly present. He tells himself, once I get that promotion, I'll finally feel like a leader. Once I get in shape, I'll start showing up with confidence. But months pass, then years. The future self he imagined never comes, because the man never gave him permission to exist today. Stoicism doesn't believe in becoming, it believes in embodying. Marcus Aurelius wrote not to imagine himself as emperor, but to remind himself how to carry that role now. Action is not the result of identity, it is the generator of it. When you walk with the posture of the man you respect, speak with his tone, and follow his structure, you are no longer pretending. You are reprogramming. You are stepping into alignment with your future by acting in truth today. Most people think they need to wait to feel ready, but feelings are unreliable. They follow behavior. The Stoics never trusted emotions to lead the way. They trusted principles. When you act in alignment with what you value, regardless of mood, you're training your nervous system to adapt, to strengthen, to believe. That's why you begin small, but with commitment. Wake up earlier, even if you're tired. Speak less, but with weight. Walk into the room with stillness. Build your word into a law you don't break. Because repetition is how you reshape the man you've been becoming in silence. The common error is confusing the future self with the present excuse. Once I'm respected, I'll act with confidence. But respect doesn't come to those who wait. It's drawn to those who move with integrity when no one's watching. Once I succeed, I'll be disciplined. But success isn't an arrival. It's the reward of invisible habits stacked daily. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Not later, not tomorrow. Now." Because every delay feeds doubt, but every action, no matter how small, strengthens the link between who you are and who you are becoming. You want to transform? Then you must behave like the version of yourself who has already crossed the bridge. Not perfectly. Not all at once, but with consistency, and without asking permission. So write down 3 traits your ideal self lives by. Maybe it's self-control, presence, or decisiveness. Then ask, what is one small behavior today that reflects each of them? And do it before the day ends. Speak less and mean more. Keep the promise you've been breaking. Make the call you've avoided. Walk like you know your steps matter, because they do. This is how it begins. Quietly, without applause, without ceremony. The world won't recognize it at first. But one day, it will have no choice, because your presence will speak before you do. 3. Don't ask. Make it happen. Waiting is a quiet form of giving up. It wears the face of patience, but underneath it, there's hesitation, fear, and an unwillingness to act. People wait for signs, for clarity, for someone to tell them it's time. And while they wait, days pass, then months, then years. They talk about what they'll do. They think about what they want. But action? That part never comes. And with every delay, they become strangers to their own potential. The truth is simple. You either shape your life with your hands, or you live in a shape someone else carved for you. Hoping is not a strategy. Asking for life to change without effort is like standing in a barren field and waiting for crops to grow without ever planting a seed. The Stoics knew this deeply. Marcus Aurelius never prayed for ease. He woke up each day and asked himself, what is in my control today? That question became his compass, even as an emperor. And if the most powerful man in the world refused to rely on fate, so should you. A man sits alone in his car after another frustrating meeting. His ideas were dismissed. Again. He's smart, experienced, capable, but he's waiting for someone to notice, for someone to offer him the perfect opportunity. In that silence, he scrolls through videos, motivation clips, and success stories. For a second, he feels fired up, but when he puts the phone down, nothing changes. The fire fades. Because motivation without motion burns out fast. What he needed wasn't another quote. He needed to do the one thing he's been avoiding. Send the email, make the pitch, walk into that room and say what needs to be said. Not tomorrow, today. Because the door he's hoping someone will open, it was always his to push. Many confuse inaction with reflection. They say they're thinking it through, waiting for the right moment, getting ready. But what they're really doing is hiding. Behind perfectionism, behind self-doubt, behind excuses. The Stoics weren't reckless, but they weren't paralyzed either. They understood that thought without execution is just a fantasy. Seneca wrote, "While we waste our time hesitating and postponing, life is slipping away. The only way to stop slipping is to step forward." It's not about rushing. It's about refusing to stay stuck. One phone call, one decision, one bold move. That's where transformation starts. Not in theory, but in movement. Not when it's comfortable, but when it's necessary. You don't have to build everything in a day. You just have to stop standing still. Viktor Frankl, though not a Stoic, echoed the same mindset. What is to give light must endure burning. If you want your life to change, you must be willing to burn away what's holding you back. Your fear of failure, your addiction to approval, your habit of hesitation. So ask yourself, what are you waiting for? And who are you expecting to save you from the responsibility of acting? Because the truth is, no one's coming. Not in the way you think. The only person who can start this is you. And the moment you take one imperfect step, life responds. Not with magic, but with momentum. Before this day ends, identify one action you've been avoiding. It might be small. That doesn't matter. What matters is that it breaks the cycle of stillness. Say what you've held back. Begin the project you've been silently dreaming about. Choose action over delay, motion over analysis. That shift, that one decision, can change the entire shape of your life. Not because the world bends instantly, but because you finally did. 4. Let discipline be stronger than your excuses. The alarm goes off. You feel the weight in your chest before your feet touch the floor. In that moment, a quiet war begins. One voice tells you to stay in bed. Just 5 more minutes. You've earned it. You're tired. Another voice tells you to rise, not because you want to, but because you said you would. The battle is old. The excuses are familiar, but what you choose in that silence shapes who you become when the world is watching. Discipline isn't loud. It doesn't post itself online or beg for attention. It moves in silence, builds in repetition, and earns its strength through resistance. Most people confuse motivation with movement. They wait to feel ready before they act. But Stoics didn't trust feelings. They trusted action. Discipline, for them, wasn't about grinding endlessly. It was about honoring your word. Especially when no one else sees. When Marcus Aurelius sat down each morning to reflect and prepare, he didn't do it because he felt like it. He did it because that's what it meant to lead, starting from within. Imagine a man who has promised himself that he'll change his life. He wants to lose weight, write the book, launch the business. But days pass and nothing happens. He blames the job, the stress, the lack of time. Yet every night he scrolls through his phone, lost in other people's lives, avoiding the truth in his own. The issue isn't knowledge. He knows what to do. The issue is permission. He keeps giving his excuses instead of to his future. Discipline is giving yourself the power to follow through, no matter how small the step. It's choosing to stay late and finish the work. It's getting up early when sleep seduces you. It's saying no to the distraction, the craving, the easy way out. Discipline doesn't shout. It simply wins. Over time, over temptation, over the version of you that prefers comfort over growth. The common mistake is thinking discipline requires massive effort, but it only requires consistency. You don't need to climb the mountain today. You just need to keep walking, especially when it's uphill. The first day is easy. The third day is harder. By day 10, your mind will craft 1,000 reasons to quit. That's the moment where most men fall. Not because they can't, but because they forget why they started. Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Adversity, discomfort, even boredom, these are weights, and discipline is your ability to lift them. Every time you act despite how you feel, you build strength that cannot be bought or borrowed. That kind of power doesn't just change habits, it rewires your mind. You stop seeking the easy. You start respecting effort. Practical strength begins with one change. Stop negotiating with yourself. If you say you'll train at 6 a.m., train. If you say you'll write 500 words, write. Not because you feel inspired, but because you said you would. And your word must mean something to you. Otherwise, no one else will believe it either. Write down one thing you've promised yourself this month. Something you've been postponing, excusing, and reshaping to fit your mood. Then remove the condition. Don't tie it to how tired you are, how busy you are, or how the day goes. Tie it to your identity. Do it because you don't break your word. And in that simple, silent decision, you reclaim something most men lose: self-respect. Because a man who obeys his excuses lives in delay. But a man who obeys his discipline lives in alignment and eventually in mastery. 5. Visualize, but stay grounded. Dreaming is easy. Building isn't. Most men get stuck in the space between. They see the life they want in their mind, the business, the freedom, the strength, the clarity. They play the images like a movie again and again, hoping the repetition alone will shape reality. But visualization without action becomes fantasy. It's mental comfort disguised as progress. The mind loves the future. It paints beautiful pictures. A life with purpose, a version of you that's powerful and respected. But Stoicism reminds us, purpose doesn't live in your head. It's revealed in what you do. Epictetus said, first, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. The key word is do, not think. Do not plan endlessly. Do. A man sits at his desk, his journal is filled with goals, he's watched the videos, attended the webinars, and written out affirmations. He even visualizes every morning, eyes closed, jaw tight with intensity. But days pass, and nothing outside him changes. His mind is busy, but his feet never move. What he doesn't see is that dreaming without grounding builds nothing. It just postpones reality. The Stoics used visualization, but not for comfort. They used it to prepare. Marcus Aurelius wrote about hardship in advance, not to fear it, but to train for it. He visualized the worst so he could meet it with calm. That's the power of grounded thought. You see clearly, then you act decisively. Modern self-help often tells you to dream big, but dreaming isn't dangerous. Escaping into the dream is. You start to confuse vision with progress. You start to feel accomplished just because you've imagined success. Meanwhile, life is moving, and you're not. The man who wins isn't the one with the clearest picture. It's the one who's willing to take the first imperfect step, right now. To visualize like a Stoic means anchoring your dreams in daily movement. It means using imagination as a compass, not a hiding place. You want to build a business? Good. What did you build today? You want peace of mind? Strong. How many minutes did you protect your inner silence this morning? You want strength and presence? Then how did you carry your body today? In posture, in pace, in breath. The mistake isn't dreaming too much. It's separating dreaming from doing. Stoics closed that gap by narrowing their focus to what they controlled. They knew that a goal too distant is fuel for delay. But a goal broken into a daily discipline becomes inevitable. No rush, no fantasy, just repetition. So define what you want, see it clearly, then strip away everything that doesn't help you get there. Make the image in your mind compete with the action in your calendar. Give your day a shape that resembles your dream, not in size, but in spirit. 5 minutes of focused effort beats 5 hours of daydreaming. A single move made in quiet alignment changes more than 100 wishes ever could. You don't need to wait until everything's figured out. You need to move with what you have, from where you are. The mind will want perfection. Ignore it. Begin anyway. Speak the idea aloud. Write the first line. Make the call. Send the offer. Build, even if it's rough. And when you lay your head down tonight, don't just ask, did I dream of a better life? Ask something stronger. Did I live one brick of it today? Real vision isn't proven by how clearly you see the future. It's proven by how deeply you show up in the present. 6. Release the result, not the effort. Outcomes are seductive. They make you believe that the reward justifies everything, that if the result isn't perfect, then the effort wasn't worth it. This thinking poisons discipline. It hijacks peace of mind. It turns every attempt into a test and every failure into a verdict. But the Stoics warned us, the moment you attach your worth to outcomes, you surrender your freedom. You can control the effort, never the result. And that's where your power lies. Most people live backwards. They act only when they believe the result is guaranteed. They avoid effort unless the finish line is clear. But real transformation begins when you act even while knowing the outcome might not arrive. You move not for the applause, but because it's right. A man sits outside his office after a job interview. He prepared for weeks. He dressed well, spoke with confidence, and answered everything. But he doesn't get the offer. His mind spirals. Maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe I'll never make it. What he doesn't realize is that he just proved strength, clarity, and consistency. He showed up fully. And that matters more than any external reward. Stoic philosophy teaches us that virtue is found in the act itself, not in how the world reacts to it. Epictetus said, "Make the best use of what is in your power, take the rest as it happens." This is the core of emotional discipline. You give your all, then let go. Not out of apathy, but out of trust. You don't abandon care, you abandon control. In modern life, people are addicted to feedback, likes, responses, approval. But that addiction robs you of inner peace. You do something meaningful, but if no one sees it, you question its value. You exercise for 2 weeks, then stop because the scale didn't change. You start a project, then quit because the world didn't clap. But growth doesn't happen under applause. It happens in silence. The common mistake is assuming that value is external, that, unless someone rewards you, what you did wasn't enough. But if you only give your best when success is guaranteed, then you'll rarely give your best. You'll always calculate, hesitate, and delay. The Stoic path is different. You give without attachment. You serve your principles, not your pride. This mindset isn't about lowering standards. It's about elevating consistency. When you release the result, you protect your energy. You stop overthinking. You stop needing things to happen a certain way. And paradoxically, this makes you more effective. A calm man performs better than an anxious one. A detached mind sees clearly than a desperate one. The more you release control, the more control you gain. So, how do you live this? Start by naming one area where you're holding too tightly. A goal, a deadline, a person's reaction. Write it down. Then shift your attention to what's in your hands today. Instead of obsessing over the outcome, show up with presence. Instead of chasing certainty, master preparation. Instead of needing a result, become the kind of man who doesn't flinch without it. When you measure yourself, don't ask if it worked. Ask if you worked. Ask if you moved with clarity, with strength, with discipline. Because that version of you doesn't disappear when the door closes. He doesn't vanish when things fall apart. He remains, and he grows. Let today be a day where you give something your full effort without checking for reward. Speak with truth even if no one agrees. Train with intensity even if the mirror shows no change. Create something even if no one praises it. That choice, to act with power and release the outcome, is where freedom begins. And once you taste that kind of peace, you'll never go back to living for results. You'll live from principle. Quiet, solid, unshakable. 7. Turn pain into fuel. Pain doesn't ruin you. Denying it does. Most people are afraid to admit how deeply they're hurting, so they hide it. They pretend it didn't matter. They distract themselves. They bury it under work, humor, or noise. But what you avoid doesn't disappear. It waits. And one day when your defenses are low, it returns, sharper, heavier, and more powerful. The Stoics never taught us to ignore pain. They taught us to face it, name it, and use it. Pain is part of life. Loss, betrayal, rejection, no one escapes. But only a few transform it. Only a few understand what Marcus Aurelius meant when he said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Those aren't poetic words. They are instructions. You don't just survive pain, you alchemize it. You let it break what no longer serves you. You let it forge what you were meant to become. A man sits on the edge of his bed after a relationship ends. She was everything to him, or so he thought. Now the house feels empty, the silence deafening. He replays every moment, every word, every mistake. His instinct is to numb it, turn on a screen, pick up a drink, distract himself with work. But another voice inside whispers something different. Feel it. Not to suffer, but to see, to extract the truth, to understand that the pain isn't the enemy, it's the invitation. What if that heartbreak isn't a dead end, but a mirror? What if it's showing you the parts of yourself that need strengthening, the parts that depended too much, trusted too fast, feared too deeply? The man who feels fully and reflects deeply does not stay broken. He rebuilds, slower, wiser, and stronger. We were never promised ease, and Stoicism never offers comfort. It offers clarity. Clarity that pain isn't personal, it's universal. Clarity that suffering without purpose crushes you, but suffering with perspective sharpens you. Epictetus, who was born into slavery and walked with a crippled leg, never saw himself as a victim. He saw adversity as training. Every trial refined his character. Every wound became a source of wisdom. The common error is to see pain as failure, to assume that if something hurts, it must have been wrong. But discomfort is not a signal to retreat. It's a signal to pay attention. Most growth begins in the places you resist, and every meaningful transformation starts with a fracture, a break in what you thought was certain. The sooner you accept that, the sooner you begin to rise. The question is not, why did this happen to me? But what can I build with this? You take the betrayal and learn how to trust yourself. You take the loss and learn how to appreciate presence. You take the silence and learn how to listen inward. Pain becomes power when it's processed, not repressed, when you move through it instead of around it. So the next time life hits hard, don't run. Don't shrink. Sit with it. Write it out. Walk through it. Let it strip the illusion and show you what matters. Let it humble your ego but lift your character. Let it teach you what no comfort ever could. Because once you've faced your worst day and chosen to stand anyway, you become dangerous in the best way. Not reckless, but unbreakable. Take 10 quiet minutes today. No phone, no input. Just you, your breath, and the pain you've been avoiding. Ask it, what are you here to teach me? And when the answer comes, don't rush away. Stay. Let it settle in. Then move. Not in rage, not in fear, but with quiet resolve. Because your deepest wound might just be the birthplace of your strongest self. 8. Protect your peace like a temple. Not everything deserves your reaction. Not every noise requires your attention. The man who learns this early walks through life with an edge that few can match. Not through aggression, but through quiet control. While most people react to every opinion, every insult, every twist in the day, the Stoic moves with stillness. He doesn't speak to prove, doesn't rush to fix, doesn't explain when silence is stronger. Because peace, once earned, becomes more valuable than pride. Peace isn't passive, it's disciplined. It's built when you choose not to respond from ego, but from principle. It's held in moments when your voice is louder in your head than the world around you. Most people treat peace like a mood. It comes and goes, depending on the weather of the world. But Stoics treat it like a practice, like something sacred. Epictetus wrote, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." That's not surrender. That's sovereignty. That's choosing clarity over chaos. A man stands at a dinner table. His brother throws a sharp comment, trying to provoke. The old version of him would rise to it, defend, argue, escalate. But this time, he breathes. He looks at his plate. He says nothing. Not because he's weak, but because he's done giving his energy away for free. He knows what's worth defending and what's just noise. And in that moment, he walks away not as the loser, but as the man who owns his peace. The common mistake is confusing silence with passivity. Many think that if you don't react, you don't care. But the man who can sit still while chaos rages around him isn't weak. He's focused. Most arguments are battles between egos, not truths. Most debates aren't about clarity. They're about validation. When you protect your peace, you're not avoiding life. You're engaging with it on your terms. Modern life rewards speed, volume, and performance. It pressures you to reply, to prove, to win every exchange. But every time you give your energy to something unworthy, you weaken your center. You let other people dictate how you feel, how you move, how you see yourself. And over time, your mind becomes noisy, your decisions scattered. You start living externally, chasing, defending, reacting. The Stoic returns inward, not to hide, but to anchor. Real strength isn't found in how quickly you respond. It's found in how deeply you listen. How often do you pause? How much space do you allow between stimulus and choice? This space is where your power lives. The untrained mind reacts. The trained mind reflects. Seneca once wrote, "A wise man is content with himself." Not because he's closed off, but because he no longer needs external noise to validate internal clarity. So, build the habit of pausing. When a message offends you, wait before responding. When the day throws a curveball, breathe before reacting. When someone disrespects you, ask yourself, do they even have the power to wound your center, or are you handing them the sword? That pause, that breath, that shift, it reclaims your energy. It turns conflict into composure, and over time it hardens into presence. Tonight, take 5 minutes and sit in silence. Let the day settle. No phone, no voice, just you and the rhythm of your breath. Watch how your mind jumps, rushes, wants to fill the space. Let it, and do nothing. Train your mind to trust stillness again. Because peace isn't found in the world, it's cultivated inside you, protected daily, guarded fiercely. And when you carry it well, you walk through noise like a mountain walks through wind, unmoved, untouched, unshaken. 9. Become the magnet for your desires. You don't attract what you wish for. You attract what you become. Most people believe they'll feel worthy once they succeed, confident once they're respected, and at peace once the chaos ends. But that approach flips reality. It puts the outcome before the transformation. And that's why they wait, stuck in the same routines, repeating the same thoughts, wondering why nothing changes. What you seek doesn't respond to fantasy. It responds to frequency. And frequency comes from who you are in your quiet moments, not who you pretend to be when the world is watching. You want freedom? Then embody responsibility. You want deep respect? Then live with alignment. You want to be chosen, seen, valued? Then become someone who doesn't need to beg for any of it. Because when you move from wholeness, you draw in what matches you, not what flatters your ego, what fits your essence. A man stares into the mirror. He's tired of being overlooked, at work, in relationships, in life. He keeps asking, when will it be my turn? But deep down, he knows he's not moving like the man he envisions. He speaks without weight. He says yes too quickly. He compromises when silence would be stronger. What he wants isn't far away, but the version of him that receives it hasn't been built yet. The truth isn't that the world ignores him. It's that he hasn't yet stepped into the energy that demands respect without needing to shout. Stoicism doesn't teach you to manifest by wishing. It teaches you to align your life so precisely with your values that the unnecessary falls away. Marcus Aurelius never chased praise. He chased the principle. And in doing so, he became the kind of man whose presence carried more weight than 10 speeches. That's magnetism. Not from charm, but from congruence. Not from appearance, but from coherence between thought, word, and action. The common mistake is waiting for external proof before acting like someone who already deserves it. You delay stepping up because you're waiting for permission. From people, from success, from timing. But confidence doesn't come from what you've earned. It comes from how you carry yourself when you've earned nothing yet. The man who moves like he already owns his path doesn't need approval. He creates it with every choice. If your energy is filled with doubt, need, fear, no matter how badly you want something, it won't stick. The universe, like people, responds to clarity, not desperation. When you stop chasing and start embodying, life rearranges. You don't beg for opportunities. You become the kind of person who creates them. You don't wait to be invited. You walk with the presence of someone who belongs where he stands. This is not arrogance. This is responsibility. You don't act as if to pretend. You act as if to train the nervous system, the mindset, the inner world, to match the reality you're building. Over time, this becomes natural, not forced, not performative, just truth in motion. So today, instead of asking, how do I get what I want, ask, what would the man who already has it do right now? And do that. Eat like him, speak like him, breathe like him, set boundaries like him. Not once, but daily. You're not waiting to become. You're building from the inside out. Before the day ends, write down one thing you're seeking. Then underneath it, describe the kind of man who naturally receives it. How he walks, how he decides, how he handles silence, failure, success. Now spend the next 24 hours being him. Fully. Quietly. Without needing a result. Because when you become the magnet, you stop asking for permission. You start attracting alignment. Not by force, by resonance. Everything you desire is not waiting somewhere far away. It's already within reach, but only when you become aligned with it. The Stoics didn't chase outcomes. They became the kind of men who could face any outcome with strength, clarity, and calm. And that's what this journey has always been about: becoming. You've just walked through 9 Stoic principles, not as abstract ideas, but as daily disciplines, from desiring with direction to turning pain into fuel, from grounding your dreams in action to protecting your peace like it's sacred. None of these are quick fixes. They are lifelong practices. And each one, if done consistently, brings you closer to the man you were meant to be. The truth is, change doesn't begin in some future version of your life. It begins when you stop negotiating with yourself. When you train your mind like a Stoic, act with quiet strength, and stop waiting for the world to catch up. Whether it's building self-discipline, refining your mindset, or simply reclaiming your emotional clarity, the power lies in small, repeated action. So take one idea from today, just one. Make it part of your rhythm. Write it down. Live it for the next 7 days. See how it shifts your focus, your energy, your decisions. Because you don't become powerful by chance. You become powerful by training. And if any part of this spoke to something inside you, share your story in the comments. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. The Stoic path is not about perfection. It's about mastery. Practiced quietly, carried daily, and revealed not in what you say, but in who you become.